much, I'd let it go longer than normal today.
Good song.
Jim George is in the studio. He is our go-to guy when we have questions, period. Just questions about anything.
Yes.
Like Israel and Jacob and all that stuff.
Yeah. Who knew? I didn't know.
Coat of many colors.
Come on, Jim. How you doing over there?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, we didn't know what the story was based on in the Coat of Many Colors.
Uh-huh.
And it was based on a Bible story.
Yes, Joseph.
Joseph. And Joseph is the son of
Jacob. Yeah.
Who was before that or after that known as Israel.
Yeah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph.
Oh my gosh.
And Moses.
So why you know him?
Oh, yeah.
You're a Sunday school student, huh?
I'm a teacher at Sunday school.
Are you really?
Yes.
Wow.
I never knew Jacob was called Israel.
Yeah, he got his name changed when he did some wrestling.
Why did they change everybody's name in the Bible? Jesus says, your name is John, I'm going to call you Pete. What was that about?
Well, you have Abram and then you had Abraham.
Well, that's easy.
All right. Well, he did it because, it's like son of. So in Iceland, when you have Baldur Halderson, the son
like
of.
that name.
Oh,
see?
Okay.
So and then when you have, let's say, Judas, Iscariot, or a name that's usually from the town they came from or the region they came from, to separate them from a different Judas or a different. There was many Jesuses in the Bible.
Really?
Not in the Bible, in Bible time.
Oh.
Many.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to work.
You got a big project going on right now? Oh, I have something I want to tell you that somebody else asked me to tell you. Competition in the cable world.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there so little of it?
Because the big fish keep swallowing up the small fish, eating them. So what happens is you might have 100 systems, and therefore you might have, let's say, 50 engineers. In a couple of years, you only have like 4 or 5 cable systems, and all those engineers are laid off, and they have to go into a different area. And so the world is getting smaller and smaller. I mean, Comcast, Time Warner, a few of them, they own the universe. They do.
Oh my God.
And I don't doubt for a minute once I launch, am I going to have multiple lawsuits? And then some big fish is going to come around and say, I'll just buy you and we'll settle all this lawsuits.
Gosh.
I'm going to be a competitor.
Well, once they buy you, you sit pretty, huh?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it may be 2, 3, 4 years after lawsuits, but that's what they do. They don't want competition. They do not.
And for the consumer, that means prices stay up, don't they?
Very high.
Yeah.
Very high.
Yeah.
I was talking to a small cable company the other day, and they wanted to add 2 channels. One was the Sunshine Network, which is a Florida sports channel, and another one was called Regional Sports Network, which is Fox owned. And those 2 channels cost them $1.59 just to carry those 2 channels. So if you wanted to have those 2 channels in a package, even the small packages, you can see why it's $7 and $10 and $12 because the programmers keep going up and up. But there is a move afoot to petition the FCC and Congress to make it so that cable companies can carry off the air channels and not charge you for them and not be charged for them.
That's wonderful.
So that would be a direct input to you. In other words, you get the off the air channel,
right?
But at no cost.
So let's go down the money line here. Let's follow the money. The TV station makes money because they sell ads.
Yes.
Okay. How the consumer benefits because they don't have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So the cable company would be the in between. How do you benefit?
So right now, the cable company has to pay the broadcaster, let's say NBC, a lot of money. I mean, just Channel 2 alone may cost $5 a subscriber. And then so what the House of Representatives is saying is just because the cable company delivers it, why should they be charged $5? Whether they receive it or the customer receives it directly. So let's give it to the cable company cheaper or free, and then all the cable company has to charge for is the box that converts it, because no one's doing analog anymore. Everything is now digital.
Would you be limited to your own market? Like, for example, could you carry local TV out of another city, or would you have to only carry stations that could be picked up with an antenna?
Right, only stations that's called the DMA, the direct marketing area. So if I can pick up Channel 2 out of Orlando, I can carry it. If I can pick up Channel 2 out of Jacksonville with an antenna, I can carry it. But if I can't pick up Channel 13 out of Tampa, I can't carry it. Even though they have a repeater in Dunellen, I can't carry it because I normally could not pick it up off of an
really?
antenna.
Oh.
But again, how does it benefit you as the cable person?
Well, because there are many people who would just like to have the local channels. And what the cable company's doing now is there's no real money in cable. There's no money in TV. The money is in internet. So they'll sell you an internet package, let's say for $50.
I gotcha.
Because you need internet. And they'll just give you the off-the-air channels in an IP format and rent you a little box for like $4 a month that converts that IP to a method your TV can use, HDMI, audio and video, something.
But what they're missing is the option to have all those programs a la carte, because I think they would make more money if they, like you, sell the programs a la carte than bundle things when you've got to buy like 3 different bundles to get 3 different channels that you like.
Yeah, we have a couple of customers in one of our systems. The lady is really nice. She's an elderly lady, and she says, I only watch one channel. That's channel 2. I turn channel 2 on in the morning when I wake up, and I turn channel 2 off when I go to bed. And that's all I watch. And so we have a real small bundle for that has 21 channels for $18. And so it's a weather channel, it's a news channel, but it's mostly all off the air. And so they can watch 2 and 6 and 9 and all the Orlando, all the Jacksonville channels, all the Ocala channels.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a great price.
When you go someplace and stay in a hotel and you watch the TV in the hotel, have you ever noticed that the hotel itself sometimes has a channel?
Yes.
So how does that happen? How does somebody give like one channel dedicated just to every room in a building? How does that happen?
There's a device. If it's just alphanumeric, it's called a character generator. But if it's more than that, if it has input for video, like either a JPEG, which would be a picture, as you mentioned the other day about the Playboy lady, or if it was
everybody who doesn't know what he's talking about, that figures out Larry's got that JPEG girl from Playboy.
Yeah, a magnitude of fun.
I am a magnitude of fun.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to wear that shirt, and I'm going to go look for the red tip booby. What was it called?
The boobies. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll look for the boobies.
Yeah. So there's a device. There's the company actually in Orlando that makes it called Telvue, Telvue, and it's like a small transmitter that WOCA might use if they were doing FM, let's say, or video, but it stays in the system, doesn't go outside the system. So it stays in the hotel, and they can do restaurants and venues. You've seen the channel, so you know what I'm speaking about.
I've seen the one in like the larger hotels, like the one I stayed in with my son in New York. I don't stay in many hotels, to be honest with you. But that one had one, they had an actual person like talking. It wasn't a still picture. It was a video, and she was downstairs. Telling everybody about the coffee and whatever else.
They create their own channel. And it stays on that network. It never leaves that network.
And is that what you did to the university up in the Carolinas? Because a few years ago, you had to drive back and forth to just install that system to the university.
Right. That's what we did. So we gave them their own channel, and they could broadcast to the students multiple things they could do. They could do assignment, reassignment. In other words, like if you were this was due at 9:00, but they changed it, it's due tomorrow at 3. All that information was audio and video, not just not just words on a screen that you have to catch the read when it scrolls up, but a real person talking about it. And people calling in and asking questions.
So is Ocala divided cable-wise? I mean, to the point where you couldn't really do that for Ocala, so that like right now, if we went through your system, only your subscribers could see that information,
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct.
But is there no way to have an Ocala only, or maybe a Marion County only program like that? No,
there is. It's very simple. You know how Billy Woods and before him the others have the wanted ads, you might say. There's these kiosks. They're everywhere.
What happened? They took them down, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't understand any idea. They spent a small fortune creating them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they didn't have someone who would operate it. By that I mean keep it up to date. When a person was arrested, take them off instead of people still looking for this guy that's, is 2 years old. He's already been in prison for 1.5 years. But anyway, that could go to all like WOCA could create that channel and then go to Cox and Bright House and Time Warner and all the rest of them and say, we'd like for you to carry our channel. Give it to them free. They add it as a channel on their system, and all of Marion County would receive your broadcast. Audio and video now, not just the audio.
So we have to have our camera looking at something.
Yes.
Maybe that guy behind you, we could put him aiming at him.
Oh boy, I'd be spooky. Yeah, that's how they do it. They just create their own channel.
Getting back to the competition part of what you do, there was a story this morning about Apple later on this month is going to reveal their new iPhones and their other products. And I think it was last week that another company offered theirs, and they always are better than the last one, whoever they're competing against. And that's an example of how competition makes people think outside the box and try to become better. Universal and Disney, for example, constantly going back and forth, trying to outdo each other.
Right.
And you would think that in the cable world that would happen too. But if everybody's always being monopolized, then that whole competition catalyst for growth goes away.
Yeah, well, they copy each other. For instance, if Comcast comes out with a box, let's call it Infinity, and everybody sees all that advertising, everything, then pretty soon Time Warner will come out with their box. They may call it something else, but it does the exact same thing. And then the electronic programming guide is literally owned by one or two companies. Roku is one, and I forget the name, but it used to be called TV Guide, but it's something else now. So if you want to put an electronic programming guide on your channel, you're going to pay royalties to Roku because they bought all the competition up.
Okay, so I have a question about that Roku thing. Okay, and on Robin's TV, it's a smart TV, Samsung Smart TV, right?
Yeah.
And she has no cable per se; she has internet.
You're right.
So whenever she uses it to watch Netflix on her internet, the TV will say there's no cable hooked up, and you have to wait for it to warm up a long time. It's not the TV warming up; it's the smart technology figuring out what.
Yeah, so we had said once before that the problem with smart TVs is the GPU, the graphic processor inside the TV, is very lightweight. It's not a heavyweight one, and so it can't handle a lot of functions at one time. So that's your limiting.
You did say that, yeah.
If you get a small box that has a better graphics processor in it, then it's instant. You change the channel instantly, you go up and down channels, you do everything, because that box is still hooked up to the internet, same as the smart TV, but it processes the information faster. So yeah, you got to wait for the smart one to warm up. But if you buy a box, it'll do the same thing.
Where do you get the box from?
You can get a Roku box. You can get any kind of box you want that is an IP to, let's say, HDMI converter. And I assume the TV takes HDMI in, as well as a coax in, as well as an audio video in.
Is that like a thumb drive? Is that what it looks like?
It's like the USB drive on your computer, but it's a little bigger.
Okay.
So it handles information faster. So it's not that the TV it's just too weak. The processor was only put in there in case you had your own camera and you wanted to show your own stuff on your own TV.
Okay.
Or you wanted to, if you had a computer and you bootlegged a movie, or you had one, let's say you were at the airport and you paid for a movie, and you downloaded it, but you didn't watch it on the plane, you fall asleep. You can come home and now play it on your TV. Because the processor in the computer is faster.
What is that thing that Amazon offers? Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh gosh, it looks like the Roku thing. It looks the same, but I don't know if it is the
Prime?
same.
No, all I know about Amazon is when you buy and sell things on them. I don't do either.
Let me see if I can find it.
But anyway, yeah, it's an intermediate box that attaches to the internet that allows you to do multiple functions quicker.
Oh, okay.
So we have a box. And so, people say, why do you have to rent the box? It's the box that does all the heavy lifting. It's the one that processes all the information, delivers it in a format that your TV wants to receive it in, things like that. Where when you go online, even the Netflix, they send information and stop. They send information and stop. And if you happen to catch it at the wrong time, your TV freezes.
Yeah, it does.
Because it hasn't sent the information quick enough.
Here's the thing. It's Fire TV Stick.
Right.
If you look at the bottom, it shows Prime, NBC, Hulu, Sling, Showtime.
So that stick allows you to get all those channels, because it's licensed to do that. Now you still got to subscribe to Showtime. You still got to subscribe to HBO.
Right.
But you get them through that box, and it does the heavy lifting. So it's like a thumb drive, like you said. It's got the processor in it that would take care of that matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So and that's going to be the wave of the future. There's the over-the-air broadcast is going to be limited in some fashion, but it'll always be there. You'll always have over-the-air broadcasting. They'll never go away. I don't think the FCC wants it to go away. That their whole mandate at first was to manage AM, FM, and TV. Now they're managing internet. They're managing everything.
We had a guy in yesterday, not to change channels completely on you, but we had a guy yesterday talking about the self-driving cars.
Oh, yeah.
Did you happen to hear him?
No, I didn't.
So I was asking him about how it works, and GPS is pretty much the short answer.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So then I asked him, well, what about tunnels? I mean, how do you know when you're going through a tunnel? And the answer was pretty interesting. The answer was, well, the first driverless car that goes through a tunnel will communicate to every other driverless car that there's a tunnel. Let's just hope that the first one makes it through.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works. So if GPS can't get it, it's okay, because cars that have gone through it already will communicate to all the others, and it'll share the information with the rest of the universe.
So when you're going under a tunnel, even now, and you have your AM or FM radio on, you'll probably notice you don't lose signal. And the reason why you don't is they put something called leaky cable. We call it slotted cable in the tunnel. So it has an antenna outside that picks up the signal. It may or may not amplify it. It doesn't need to. Radio is very low. You have very low signal and still receive radio. And there's just a cable in the tunnel attached to the wall, and your antenna picks up the leaky cable. Like we're leaking something in the air. You're leaking FM or AM in the air. So what they will do is they'll just put up an antenna to receive that same frequency that the GPSs work on, the cars work on, and it will radiate in the tunnel. And as you go down, plus they'll probably put some kind of special paint in the center lines to keep the cars from changing lanes. In other words, it will sense that
something to follow.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, we do have a phone call coming in. I hope I wasn't ignoring that. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air with Jim George.
Good morning, guys. It's Mike McCoy.
Hi, Mike.
I got a couple of questions for Jim. One is, the Fire Stick. I actually use the Amazon Fire Stick, and you can buy these offline, and you can get a pretty good deal with them, which is what I did. I bought 3 of them. I used 2 at home and 1 at my business. But when I bought them, I got them installed and everything, but very, very, very difficult to navigate through. And so I was over at the Marion Market, and is it okay if I say a person who does these over at Marion Market?
Sure. Okay, by me. I don't know about Joe, but me.
The guy's name is Mike, and he's outside near but anyway, I saw his, he programs them himself and reformats and so I took all 3 of mine over to him and had him to put his format onto my Fire Sticks, and man, they are just unbelievable now. And it's so much simpler. He dummied it down for me, I guess you could say.
Yes.
And unbelievably how easily it is compared to the way they came to me. For sure, it's just like anything. You can buy something off of the internet, but you better be willing to, when you get it off the internet, you're going to have to accept it the way it is. He sells them and he programs them over at my Market of Marion.
Yes.
He's called the Fire Stick Man or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen him there. Yep.
And I absolutely, to me, I was just frustrated with them when I bought them. And then after I bought them and he reprogrammed them, man, they were just so easy to use. And so, just like you said, I don't subscribe to all the channels. I just use the local stuff. I'm cheap.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
They do work. Though. Yeah.
Good information. Yeah, appreciate
they
that.
definitely will.
Thank you.
But anyway, okay, that's it. I've taken enough of your time. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is good to know. I wonder how he does it. I wonder how you program something like that. Is that hard to do?
Well, no, but so in order for everything to communicate with everything else, let's say there is open source codes. So they're published. And so a programmer will go to the open source code and get into the device. And then he'll see that the programmer who programmed it maybe had a real long string of stuff before it did something. And he will shorten that code down. Now the thing responds quicker, doesn't have to read all that information and do it. So open source code.
That's not the same guy that sells the antennas, is it?
No, that's not the gentleman. That's
a different guy?
Yeah.
Good morning. You're on the air with Jim.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. All this interconnected, this, that, and the other thing, all you need is a couple of real bad guys or natural phenomenon that take place, and we'll be all back to smoke signals and flashing light or something, And that, I think, is going to be a real problem if that ever happens, because the people of the world are becoming more and more dependent on all the electronic gizmos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I still keep two CB radios. And with the antennas and everything, and they're tuned. And I can see the day when something could happen, and that would be the only thing you'll have is short range, station to station type of communication. It's something that never really goes butto. And it doesn't have to be bad guys or anything. It could be the sun. It could be super earthquake, throwing something in the air that louses up all the signals or whatever. Anyway, that's my thought, and I'd like to hear what you had to say. And I'll hang up and listen, and have a great weekend. Bye now.
Thank you, Sonny.
Yeah, that's why you have people like Jim that does the ham radio operation.
Yeah, right.
They can talk around the world. It can be a total disaster, little or no power in some country or some city.
Yeah.
Those guys can talk back and forth with transmitters that will skip, hit the ionosphere and bounce off a little small hand power generator or an actual gas power generator. And all they need is power, and they can go.
Well, he's right. It is a world where technology is something we depend on now, and therefore we need people like yourself to help us understand it and figure out how to program it.
Well, technology is kicking our butt. We cannot keep up with it. There's no way. So if you're a homeowner and you have something that's new and great, and be aware, like the other caller said, it is not easy to understand.
That's
it's like trying to program your old VCR.
It's the same thing, I know.
Yeah.
And then you come home and it's flashing.
Try to figure out the stupid oven.
Yeah.
Just the oven I can't figure out.
What's the matter, you?
All right, Jim. What is your phone number? You want to give it out?
Sure. It's 854-9795.
Jim George,
Thank you.
Professor of the Universe. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
From American Cable Services. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. Today, John McCain becomes the 30th person to lie in state at the U.S. Capitol. There's a ceremony starting at 11 Eastern.
Senator McCain returns to the nation's capital. His remains actually arrived late yesterday at Andrews Air Base just outside.